Hey everybody, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I'm McKinley412, and today we're looking at this 9-game main slate on Monday for DraftKings. Pretty good slate, in my opinion. We got three offenses that really rise up to the top over everybody else. Not a whole lot of cheap stacks that we could be going to, or just I have a lot of interest in today. But I think there's enough quote unquote value at pitcher that we can certainly make it work. So we'll go through the pitchers, go through some builds, just kind of show you how this slate kind of breaks down, in my opinion. And yeah, so only one game that's a weather issue, and that's the Cleveland at Arizona game. So pay attention to the rain with that. I think it's going to be fine, but just rain is in the forecast. And then we do not know the Minnesota starting pitcher yet. I have seen possibly Sanchez. I've also seen Smeltzer. So I don't know who this Minnesota starting pitcher is. So they're not on this list. Detroit, I didn't put in the stacks because, again, we don't know who they're facing up against. If it is Sanchez, I'm going to have a lot of interest in Detroit. If it's Smeltzer, I'm going to have less interest in Detroit. So that's kind of where we're at. So Scherzer, he's your top dog on the slate today. Number one pitcher, I think, pretty by far. He's 10.6K. It is pretty pricey. He goes up against Washington, who, again, as we know, has like a lower strikeout rate among teams in the league. But still, I think he's going to be your SG1, especially in cash. If you want to fade him in GPP, I guess it's fine, but anything goes in GPP. But still, Scherzer, he's your SB1. Don't have to really talk about too much about that. Jon Gray, he has strikeout rates that are, way up there. He's got one of the highest strikeout rates on the entire slate, right next to Scherzer. And he's got a pretty easy matchup going up against Baltimore, who can strike out quite a bit. Jon Gray, he has been fantastic at home. He's got 26 DK point average at home, only 5 games, but still, that is pretty impressive. And looking through the teams that he has faced, it's been probably 5 of the best matchups that he could ask for, which is kind of why it is pretty inflated. But again, it's not like he's going up against a super strong team here either. In Baltimore, they only had that nice little run. It's kind of been a feel-good story here as of late, but still, they can certainly struggle at the plate. Heaney, I have ranked third. He could, the main issue with Heaney is that he's only going 70 or 80 pitches. This is his second start back from injury. So, he went 75 or 76 pitches in the first start. But even before the injury, he was only getting 70, 75, 80 pitches. So he's not going super far into the games. And at 9.5K, that's just a little bit too pricey for me. He's got good strikeout rates, which is why he's ranked above Webb, in my opinion. And that's pretty much it. Webb kind of rounds things out in this top salary tier. Just a tough matchup going up against the Dodgers. It hasn't been terrible. The strikeouts have been kind of down over the past month or so, but he's not going to blow up by any means. You can kind of see he has had double-digit starts every single start this season. So he's not going to absolutely torch your lineup, but I do think that there's far better places that you can go. In the mid-tier, Clevenger, I have him ranked up at the top. I could not decide between Clevenger and Garcia. I was going back and forth and back and forth. Garcia's got a great strikeout rate. Clevenger, I think his strikeout rate's around 24%. That's nothing to scoff at either. But Clevenger did come in with a bit of a discount pricing-wise, which is kind of why I have him put up there. And Clevenger's just been going deeper into games. Earlier on the season, we didn't like Clevenger a whole lot just because he would only go 4 innings, 5 innings. He would work the counts, and it was just frustrating because he wouldn't even be in line for the win. Because he would go 80, 90 pitches, and he would have to take 4 or 5 innings just to do that. But I think, he's been much better as of late in terms of, getting to the batters, getting them out quicker, going deeper into games. Obviously, you go deeper into games, you accumulate more outs. That's more fantasy points for us. So I do have Clevenger ranked there. Garcia right below him. If you want to flip-flop them, totally fine. Garcia, he's got a great strikeout rate. He's going up against Boston, who just has really been struggling at the plate. They're in total sell-off mode. Oh, real quick, timeout. All-star or not all-star trade deadline. It's tomorrow. So, be paying attention to the news. You could have some big names leaving teams. There's a lot of talk about JD Martinez heading out of Boston right now. So, he could get traded today if JD Martinez is out of Boston. That bumps Garcia up, obviously, taking away one of their big bats. So pay attention to all the trades that are happening today and tomorrow. But Garcia going up against a weaker Boston team that's really just been struggling. High strikeout rate. Don't mind him at 8.6K. Again, if you want to flip Garcia over Clevenger, totally fine with that. Skubal, he just like stumbled into the All-Star break. It was pretty ugly here for quite some time. But his past 2 starts, no earned runs. He hasn't allowed an earned run in his 2 starts post All-Star break. So he's kind of got it back together. I'm not super excited about him still, just because he can falter. He can't have those games where he only has like 1, 2, maybe even 3 strikeouts. He's going up against Minnesota, who has some serious power with their righty bats. It's not the Minnesota team that we saw last year that would absolutely mash left-handed pitching, but still, it's still cause of concern. I do think Minnesota could make for like a nice GPP play, especially just because of with their big power bats and the struggles that Skubal has kind of shown so far this season. Eovaldi, I have zero interest in. I have him as a fade on this slate. He came back from injury 3 starts ago, and it has been a different pitcher. I mean, before the injury, he was doing just fine. He was going through the season. He was doing great. His 3 starts since then, yikes. 7 DK points, -12. He was the starter against that Toronto, in that Toronto game where they scored 28 runs. And then just 2 points, DK points against Cleveland last time out. So it has been very ugly for Eovaldi. Now he's got Houston and all those amazing bats at Houston, especially those lefties, Yordan Alvarez, Tucker for sure. But even guys like Bregman and Altuve and Pena, they all have fantastic numbers against right-handed pitching and can hit righties very well. So I do not want to be touching Eovaldi at this point. So he's on the fade list for me. I'm looking where I'm at. No interest in Quantrill. He just allows a lot of hits, a lot of walks. So like his whip is super high. I just don't have any interest in him. But then Kopech. Here we go. Kopech is kind of like rounding out this mid-tier for me, going up against KC. He's fine. He used to have like a super high strikeout rate. It's kind of like diminished lately. Going through all the minors, his strikeout rate was super high. He kind of even showed it a little bit earlier on in the season with his debuts, but it's kind of fallen back. So we've seen his price drop. We've seen the interest in him kind of drop a little bit. And, it's understandable, but it's still in there somewhere. Cheap tier, not much like in the cheap tier. Herman is probably the only guy that I'm going to have too much interest in. Going up against Seattle, he's got a decent strikeout rate, going back to, previous seasons and everything. Obviously, he only pitched 2 times here. But, I think 6.4K is just a little bit too cheap for him. I wouldn't mind him as like a nice cheap option. Everybody else is pretty much, not really exciting. Spencer Watkins, can't really argue what he's been able to put up here, especially as of late. Earned runs, 3, 1, 1, 1, 0, 3, 2. Like, it's not bad. He's throwing up some pretty nice starts here, and you're getting him at sub 6K. Don't mind him at all. So, Herman, Watkins, probably the only 2 that I'd be going after. Keller, a righty going against the White Sox, kind of always in play just because the White Sox can't struggle against right-handed pitching. But yeah, so that's your pitching breakdown for this slate here. And so let's turn to the bats. I kind of mentioned there's 3 teams that really just stand out above all else. It's the Yankees, the Mets, and the Astros. The Yankees and the Mets, we'll start off with the Mets. Mets are going off against Corbin, just not a great pitcher. We'll just put it that way. Not a good major league pitcher. He's better than me, that's for sure. But the Mets, it's going to be your usual guys. It's going to be Alonso and Marte. But they're super pricey. You can kind of see with these prices, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that are 4.1K or above. It's like almost their entire lineup. So they do have a lot of salary that's going to be taken up if you do go with a larger Mets stack. But Escobar at 4.5K, he has fantastic numbers, might be one of the best like point per dollar guys on their team. But if you want to go super cheap and hopefully he's in the lineup, JD Davis at 2.1K. He's got really solid numbers against left-handed pitching so far this season. I think he's probably going to be in just because, he does so well against right-handed pitching, against left-handed pitching. So I think he'll be in the starting lineup, even if he's batting like 7th, 8th, kind of like his usual spots. I think that he can provide a nice, salary relief for you. You can even do a little wraparound stack if you want. So JD Davis, I think, is a nice value play for the Mets. Yankees, they're a little bit cheaper than the Mets overall, which is kind of why I have them ranked above the Mets. I know they also have 7, 8 guys that are ranked, 4.1K and above. But you also have Stanton, who's on the IL, so you can cross him off. Judge is comparable to Pete Alonso, but then kind of like the other guys, they're just a little bit lower. So Yankees, it's your obvious guys. It's Judge. One guy I do want to point out is Torres. It would not shock me if he's like the chalk second baseman here tonight. His numbers against left-handed pitching are better than Aaron Judge's. He's been that good. So Torres at just 4.8K, I think it's a great spot for him. And I mentioned he has got higher numbers than Judge does against left-handed pitching so far this season. Rizzo is actually kind of like a reverse splits kind of hitter sort of guy. He bats left, but he actually hits left-handed pitching very well. So I do not mind Rizzo being in your Yankee stacks at all. And then Trevino, if he is catching 3K, love him as like a cheap play. Even if you don't go with the Yankee stack and you just kind of need like a one-off, I do not mind him at 3K there for the Yankees. Houston, the final team that's just kind of like above, I think, everybody else, just because they're going up against Eovaldi, and Eovaldi has just been horrendous in his 3 starts post All-Star break. It's Alvarez, it's Tucker. Those are like your 2 big lefty guys that you're talking about. But righties that I mentioned, like, can hit right-handed pitching very well, and they have like solid numbers. It's Bregman, Pena, and even if you want to go Gurriel, 3.3K, he could be batting high in the lineup. He is a righty. He doesn't have the best numbers, which is kind of why he's cheap, but still, like, batting in the heart of the order of this offense at just 3.3K, is certainly going to have a little bit of interest in there. So if we do like a quick like little build, I mean, you can mix and match. Here, let's throw in Scherzer, throw in Herman as well, and just kind of see if we can do like New York, Yankees, and Mets stack. Because I think these are the top 2 offense that I'm going to be wanting to target, especially in cash games. So I already talked about Trevino at catcher. Rizzo, I really want Alonso, but 6.3K can be pretty pricey. You can probably either get like Alonso or Judge. You're probably not going to get both of these guys. So if you go Rizzo at first base, I already said that Torres is going to be like a monster. Escobar, I love him at third base. You're looking at 4K remaining for the rest of your bats. So you can certainly get Aaron Judge in there. I already talked about JD Davis for sure. So you can do a nice, healthy Mets and Yankee stack. If you don't want to go all the way down to Herman at pitcher, and maybe you go up to Clevenger or Garcia, you're still looking at 3.5K remaining. Again, throw in JD Davis if he's in at 2.1K. There's other cheap options out there. Alec Thomas for Arizona. Just a whole bunch of guys that are cheap in the outfield here today. So 3.5K, that's probably going to bump to like 3.7, 3.8. You can certainly do it. You can pay up for pitcher and get a nice Yankees and Mets stack. Awesome. GPP, I got San Diego, Minnesota, Cleveland, and Kansas City. Cheap plays, there's not a whole lot of them. I just got Arizona and San Francisco. But GPP, so let's talk about a San Diego team real quick. Eric Hosmer, he did there we go. I'm going over this. Here's Eric Hosmer. He did leave the game on Sunday, so he's kind of day-to-day. We're not sure if he's going to be in the lineup here tonight. Doesn't sound like anything too bad. Totally could be in the lineup. If he's not in the lineup, you're probably going to see Luke Voigt or Profar or whatever kind of shift over, and then somebody else slides in. So Luke Voigt, he's got the best numbers against right-handed pitching. Again, they're going up against Senzatella. That's nothing to be scared about at all, which is kind of why I have San Diego kind of at the top of this GPP here. And you compare San Diego with Houston. I think that could make for a very nice combination. Like, they have their players and the positions, they mesh very well together. So I wouldn't mind a San Diego Houston stack. But just focusing on San Diego here, Luke Voigt, he's going to be your top guy. Profar, he's got great numbers. Kim, he's been doing very well as of late, 3.4K. He had a great series against, I think it was Minnesota that they just faced. But yeah, he's been doing fantastic. Pull up his logs here real quick. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits in his past 4 games, home run, couple RBIs, stolen bases. Awesome, love it. So Kim's been doing great. And then Cronenworth, obviously, lefty going up against that righty. So San Diego, I mean, they could be that cheap stack that you're looking for. 3.6, 4.3, 3.4, and 3.9 are the 4 salaries that I just talked about. Obviously, Machado's in there as well. So let's see if we can go with like a San Diego Houston stack and just kind of see where we're at salary wise. Catcher, I didn't really talk about catcher with either of these teams, but Luke Voigt at 3.6K, super cheap. Cronenworth at second base, Bregman, he's got, better numbers. I mean, if you want to go Machado, totally fine with that. Kim, he's 1,100 cheaper than Pena. He doesn't have the numbers that Pena has against that pitch hand. But if you want to go a little bit more savings, you can go down to Kim. If you want to go up 4 or 5 to Pena, totally fine with that. And then just like throwing in some of your lefties for Houston. You can go Tucker, you can go Alvarez. And let's just kind of see. Let's throw in some pitchers here just to see where we're at salary wise. Kind of building here with you guys. So we'll throw in Scherzer. It's getting tight. It's getting tight. We'll throw in Scherzer. We'll throw in Clevenger again. Actually, not too bad. 3.6K remaining with Scherzer and Clevenger, and then unhealthy, Houston and San Diego stack. Obviously, you don't have Yordan Alvarez in here. I think you probably could fit him in. Let's see, 6.2K. I was going to drop us to 2.3K. So you could jam him in. Maybe you take Clevenger and go down to Herman. Who knows? We'll see. But it's GPP. Maybe you get off of Scherzer. Maybe you go Garcia and you go Gray. I mean, that can save you some salary, open up some of the bats a little bit more there. But I don't mind that for just in our stack. Obviously, there's a lot of teams that you could go target to. I already mentioned Arizona. It's like a cheap team that I would like have some interest in. Some cheap guys that are on their team. You could do like some one-offs with Alec Thomas for sure. If McCarthy's in, 2.7K, Marte, Rojas, and Christian Walker, 3.5K. I feel like I'm naming a lot of first basemen here, but I feel like it's a pretty strong position on this slate tonight. So that kind of covers everything. I mean, not everything. There's obviously so many teams that we could be talking about, but that's just kind of like where I'm going to be heading after my initial look. Obviously, there's more research to do throughout the day, but just kind of giving you a heads up. That's kind of where the slate's leaning to. I think that you got these top 3 offenses. Scherzer's number 1. The value is there. I don't think there's really going to be any issue with salary and jamming guys in. But yeah, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We will see you. Good luck in your contests, and we'll see you in the next video.